Okay, I've gotten around to it. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the second show in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be released on Disney Plus following WandaVision, which was an 8 out of 10, too long. The ending was a bit of a rough landing. 6 months after the events of Avengers Endgame, Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, donates Captain America's shield to the museum exhibit about him, and continues working with the US military as the Falcon. A new organization, known as the Flag Smashers, unites around Carly Morgenthau, a very good performance by Aaron Kellerman, to try and bring the world back to the more unified state it was in the immediate aftermath of the Thanos snap. Meanwhile, Bucky Barnes, played by Sebastian Stan, has finally entered the first extended period of his life where he does not have to live in fear of being chased or brainwashed into being the Winter Soldier again, and is trying to find some semblance of a life for himself. Things are further complicated when, with Sam having passed on the mantle, the US government gives the shield to John Walker, stellar performance by Wyatt Russell, and declares him the new Captain America. Usually I try to avoid talking about plot stuff beyond the setup, but obviously a miniseries is longer than a movie, and this is the MCU, so I'm gonna talk a bit more about stuff, but try to dodge around specifics. The show looks really good, and I really enjoy a lot of the action. I've always slightly preferred the Captain America series for being a bit more grounded than some of the others in the MCU. Don't get me wrong, I like when things get weird. The Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok are obviously very wacky and cool, but Cap, Bucky, and other super soldiers are just barely superpowered, and it makes their antics much more obviously impressive. Simple demonstrations like how fast they run or jumping just a little higher than possible always land a bit more when they're mostly fighting normal humans. And I gotta be honest, I just love when the shield bonks people. I really enjoy the concept of Sam struggling to accept the mantle of Captain America, both on a personal level and a societal level. I like that they brought back Batroc the Leaper from Winter Soldier to really easily show the difference in physical ability between Steve Rogers and Sam, and I like that one of the main threads of the show is having John Walker be on paper a perfect person to be Captain America, but just not being good at actually being Cap and not understanding what it really means and bending and falling under that strain. I also really like the way the show handles the racial elements of Sam becoming Captain America. The way the show uses Isaiah Bradley, played by the always wonderful Carl Lumbly, to have honest conversations about the way black people have been and continue to be treated in the United States, and whether or not, even if he could be accepted, whether a black man could ever even justify being a symbol for a country that actively harms their people, is easily some of the best material in the show, as well as having Bucky acknowledge that Steven himself could not understand what that would mean or how it would affect Sam because he is black. Man, the 5th episode is easily the best one, just a really great hour of TV. Unfortunately, I think the main issue with the show is the same as WandaVision. It doesn't need to be a show. There is no reason for this to be 6 hours long. There just isn't, and it leads to the first half of the show being a bit of a slog. The last 2 episodes are really good, but those 2 being good and everything before being weaker just makes me feel like this could have easily been cut down to a satisfying 2.5-hour movie. Especially with how little it feels like Bucky has to do and how little it explains the actual beliefs and goals of the Flag Smashers. The show is 6 hours, and I never felt like they actually explained what the Flag Smashers wanted, even though I did feel like I understood Carly by the end. Bucky feels honestly almost wasted here, which is annoying because I feel like rediscovering who you are after 80 years of being mind controlled and dealing with that trauma could really allow for some pretty compelling stories, but his healing is mostly relegated to a few scenes in a 6-hour show where his name is in the fucking title. Even worse, with that trauma becoming a less central part of his character, it's not really replaced with anything, which makes me worried about what they'll do with the character in the future. The length does allow for a lot more breathing room, which is what allows that 5th episode to be so good, as it really only has the one fight at the beginning and the rest is all character stuff, which you definitely couldn't get away with in a Marvel blockbuster movie. But I don't know, maybe it only needed to be 4 hours? As it is, I've really gone back and forth on a score for this one, as when it lands, I think it really lands well, but I shouldn't have to sit through 3 hours before it even starts to get to that point. But in the end, I think I'll give it an 8 out of 10, but just barely. Very fun with a lot more substance than I expected.